Okay, so now we come to the first point, that is this situation. So as you can see in the diagram itself, nasopharynx is situated behind the nasal cavity, separated from the oropharynx by the nasopharyngeal isthmus. Similarly, oropharynx is lying just behind the oropharynx, extending from the soft palate, free margin of the soft palate, up to the upper margin of the epiglottis. So nasopharynx is behind the nasal cavity, lying behind the nasal concas. Behind the nasal concha, where this black line I am shown, that part there is presence of posterior nasal aperture. So it is lying behind the posterior nasal aperture, extending up to the line joining soft palate with the posterior pharyngeal wall. The oropharynx starts from there, that is the nasopharyngeal isthmus, and extends to a line joining the posterior one third of the tongue at the level of the free margin of the epiglottis up to the third cervical, upper part of the third cervical vertebra. And the laryngopharynx extends from the upper, this same line which is separating, this is the lower part of the oropharynx, up to the lower border of the sixth cervical vertebra, or you can also anteriorly it is the cricoid cartilage. So it is here the nasopharynx situated behind the nasal cavity, oropharynx situated behind the oral cavity, and the laryngopharynx situated extended behind the larynx entirely. Extend, the nasopharynx extends from the base of the skull. This is the base of the skull, or you can say the part of the body of the sphenoid, right up to the nasopharyngeal isthmus. The oropharynx extends from the nasopharyngeal isthmus up to the upper border of the free margin of the epiglottis, and laryngopharynx extends from the upper free margin of the epiglottis right up to the lower border of the cricoid cartilage anteriorly, and the cervical sixth vertebra posteriorly. Relations, so if you see here, first the nasopharynx. So the roof or the upper part is formed by the body of the sphenoid. The posterior part is slightly formed by the first arch of the at first cervical vertebra, also the base of the skull. The anteriorly it is communicating with the nasal cavities. In the roof part or floor part, or you can say in the inferior aspect, we have got the soft palate and the nasopharyngeal isthmus. Similarly for oropharynx, in the upper part we have got this nasopharyngeal isthmus. Roof, as per some textbook, or you can say anterior aspect, it is formed by the inferior surface of the soft palate. Anteriorly it is separated from the oral cavity by the oropharyngeal isthmus, and the floor of that part is formed, oropharynx is formed by the posterior one third of the tongue and free margin of the upper border of the epiglottis covered by the mucous membrane. Posteriorly it lies in front of C2 and upper part of the C3 cervical vertebra. Laryngopharynx similarly, anteriorly it is related with the cartilages of larynx, that is the epiglottis in upper part, cricoid in the lower part. Posteriorly it is extending from C3, C4, C5 and C6 cervical vertebra. Communications. Nasopharynx, it communicates with the nasal cavity anteriorly and with the oropharynx inferiorly. Coming to oropharynx, it communicates with the nasopharynx above, laryngopharynx below, and oral cavity in front. Similarly, laryngopharynx, it communicates with the oropharynx above, with the esophagus downwards, and here this part is the part of the laryngeal inlet. So it communicates with the laryngeal inlet anteriorly in the middle part. Now supply. The nasopharynx is supplied by the branches from the pterygopalatine ganglion. The oropharynx and the nasopharynx both are supplied by the 9th and the 10th cranial nerve. More specifically, if you want to say, then oropharynx is more specifically supplied by the 9th cranial nerve, that is the glossopharyngeal nerve, and laryngopharynx is supplied by the internal laryngeal nerve, which is the branch of the vagus nerve, that is the 10th cranial nerve. If you see the epithelium, now this nasopharynx has got the function similar to that of nose. So the epithelium of the nasopharynx is pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium, whereas the oropharynx and the laryngopharynx have more to do with the passing of the food, so that's why it requires a protective covering there. So the epithelium of the oropharynx and the laryngopharynx both are having non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. I am repeating again, nasopharynx is lined by the respiratory epithelium, that is pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium, whereas oropharynx and laryngopharynx both are lined by the layer which is required giving protection, that is the non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. So the function, if we see, nasopharynx is mainly concerned with the passing of the air. The oropharynx has got both. It allows the passage of the food as well as the air, whereas the laryngopharynx only allows the passage of the food. So that is the various features of nasopharynx, oropharynx and laryngopharynx. Apart from it, on the anterior aspect as well as the lateral wall of the respective pharynx, there are some special features which you will be seeing individually. So the special features. First we come to nasopharynx. Now nasopharynx shows nasopharyngeal tonsils, or you can say the pharyngeal tonsil, opening of the eustachian tube with tubal tonsil located above it, which is called as the tubal, the opening is called as the tubal elevation. There are two folds which are extending from this opening of the eustachian tube. One is going towards the pharynx wall, so it is called as the salpingopharyngeal fold, and one is extending towards the palate, that fold is called as salpingopalatine fold. And between the opening of the eustachian tube and the nasopharyngeal tonsils, we have got a pharyngeal recess, also called as the fossa of Rosenmuller. Let us see them in the diagram in an expanded view. So here it is. So this is the part of the nasopharynx which I have expanded. So here the first thing which is located on the posterior pharyngeal wall, it is the pharyngeal tonsil. Then lower down at the level of inferior meatus, we have this orange color structure which I have shown, that is the opening of the eustachian tube, forming an elevation because it is covered by a mucous membrane. So it forms an elevation there, that we call it as tubal elevation. And behind the eustachian tube, or just above it, we have got another tonsil present there. That's why that is called as the tubal tonsil. So why these many tonsils are required here? Because nasal cavity is a direct open cavity through which air is going inside our body. So there can be microorganisms, various particles going inside. So this tubal tonsils and the pharyngeal tonsils acts as a first line of defense, catching up those microorganisms and dust particles if required and preventing the entry of it into the body. And lastly, between in the pharyngeal tonsil there is one recess which is extending deep into it. This recess is called as the pharyngeal bursa, and the space or a recess which is lying between the tubal tonsil and the pharyngeal tonsil, this recess which I have shown by black color here, that is the pharyngeal recess. So these are the important features of the nasopharynx: pharyngeal tonsil, the pharyngeal bursa, the pharyngeal recess, tubal tonsil and eustachian tube. Now this pharyngeal bursa can also be called as pouch of Luschkas, and they are the remnant of Rathke's pouch, which you will come across in the development of the pituitary gland. Next comes the oropharynx, which shows the palatine tonsils, lingual tonsils, the upper part of the epiglottis, and the two folds which are connecting the tongue with the epiglottis, that is the median and lateral glossoepiglottic folds, and the space between them, it is called as vallecula. Now this glossoepiglottic fold you will be able to see better in the lecture of the tongue. Here we are going to see mainly this one, the palatine tonsils. So here you have already come across this word in the lecture of oral cavity between the two folds. The anterior fold is formed by the palatoglossus muscle, and the posterior fold is formed by the palatopharyngeus muscle, and the space between the two, it is the tonsillar fossa, and the lymphatic tissue lying between the two folds in that space, it is called as the palatine tonsil. Similar lymphatic aggregations can be also seen on the posteriormost part of the tongue, on the dorsum of the tongue. They are called as the lingual tonsils. And here this part, which is connecting the tongue with the epiglottis, this shows median and lateral glossoepiglottic folds, and the space between the two, that is called as the vallecula. Coming to the laryngopharynx, there are two structures very mainly seen, that is the piriform fossa, and as I already shown, the laryngeal inlet. Now this piriform fossa is very much important. Let us see how they are located. So first, this is the laryngopharynx, and this is the laryngeal inlet, as I have already shown, that it communicates with the laryngeal inlet anteriorly. Now, although this is sagittal section, so we may not be able to say what is the exact extent of the laryngopharynx, but laryngopharynx just does not lie behind the larynx. It also extends on the sides of the larynx. So the part of the laryngopharynx which is extending between the, you can say within the larynx, but on the sides of the cricoid cartilage and the epiglottis, that part is called as piriform fossa, as you can see here. This is the hyoid bone, this is the thyroid cartilage and cricoid cartilage, the part of the laryngeal wall connected by this here hyoid bone is connected with the thyroid bone, with the cartilage, by the means of thyrohyoid membrane, and the centrally there is location of this epiglottis. As you can see in this diagram, the piriform fossa is extending on the lateral side between the epiglottis and the thyrohyoid membrane. Now this piriform fossa in the previous ages or ancient times were used by smugglers to collect some you can say precious things or the prohibited things in that fossas and transport it from one place to another without getting caught. In the animals, this piriform fossa acts as a lateral food channel. They can eat lots of things, collect them in the piriform fossa, and then gradually they can bring those things back into their mouth, chew it, and then push back into the stomach. So that is the importance of the piriform fossa. So coming to the applied anatomy, with respect to nasopharynx, we have got a very important applied that is called as the adenoids. That is the inflammation of the nasopharyngeal tonsils. Now these nasopharyngeal tonsils are prominent up to 6 years of age in a person, in a child, and during this age, if there is recurrent infection of this of the nasopharyngeal region, then these adenoids get inflamed. Then the child complains of recurrent nasal blockage, recurrent nasal discharge, then difficulty in breathing, and sometimes the child may keep the mouth open while asleep or even while normal sitting. These are the typical signs of adenoids. The oropharynx, because it is a common pathway for food and the air, there are chances that the food may get entered into the laryngeal cavity or air may get entered into the laryngopharynx. So, if there is food entering into the laryngeal cavity by mistake, it is called as choking, or sometimes air may get entered into the laryngopharynx and reach to the stomach, then it is called as the blanching. With respect to laryngopharynx, I have already talked that the piriform fossa are called as smuggler's fossa and they act as a lateral food channel in the animals. So to summarize, pharynx is a funnel-shaped fibromuscular tube located behind the nasal, oral and the laryngeal cavities and hence divided into nasopharynx, oropharynx, laryngopharynx respectively. The nasopharynx shows very important part, that is the structures, that is pharyngeal tonsils, opening of the eustachian tube and the fossa of Rosenmuller. Oropharynx shows palatine tonsil, lingual tonsil, glossoepiglottic folds and the vallecula, and the laryngopharynx communicates anteriorly with the larynx through laryngeal inlet, and on the lateral side it forms piriform fossa. So that is about the pharynx. Thank you.